One type of character that will always hit home for me will be the classic gunslinger. Those who move with pistol in hand or customized gun, constantly hitting all their shots with various combinations of stylish execution has led to some of the coolest characters in anime. For some people, they might think of Death the Kid and Alucard, and for others, Spike Spiegel and the famous City Hunter himself. I can't say that for myself I have a favorite gunslinger, but I always enjoy seeing the intense gunfights and especially those moments of slow motion when canceling out bullets with their own ammo. Madoka probably has one of the best gunfights with a showdown of Homura versus Mami and the various guns cycled throughout the encounter. Last year's Anime Expo unveiled that alongside the return of Penny and Stalking with a second season, Trigun will be getting a new anime project known as Trigun Stampede. On top of that, it will be produced by Studio Orange, who is arguably one of the best studios in the industry to utilize CGI to create anime. Off the jump, the reactions were quite mixed, primarily due to the CGI mentioned. I understand simply not liking CGI as a presentation style, but the anime community has this insane hatred towards CGI and half the time doesn't even realize when it is and isn't being used in 2D based anime. My reaction to all of this information was to simply wait and see what this new project would turn out to be, and I think that I can confidently say that this turned out to be well worth my time. I want to go ahead and say that just like Urusei Yatsura, which by the way was last week's video, so make sure to give that a watch, I have not seen the original Trigun. Growing up, I have a friend who was very fond of the series, but at the time I was not somebody who would go back and watch older anime. Nowadays, I have given a heap of chances to many older shows, but I have just not gotten around to Trigun quite yet. The only things I knew based off clips and other mentions from content creators was the original anime had a unique situation with the story due to publishing changes with the manga, which has led to an anime original ending. My attempts to read up on the reception of the original Trigun anime has always pointed me to different receptions towards the second half of the anime in particular. Some felt it was a huge step up, while others felt it was a bit of a pacing mess and would recommend reading the manga altogether. For me, however, these are things I simply have been keeping in mind. One thing that I have taken note of is that Stampede has been called a mix of a reboot and a remake. While it may still be confusing to many, this is my introduction into the series overall, and that is the mindset I am leading with. There aren't many well-known established shonen series that I don't read, and Trigun was finally going to add onto that list. The trailer left a good first impression, especially with the music, and I was intrigued to see this tale of two brothers be told anew. Of course, I'm probably part of the small percent that was pleased with the trailer because the first spur of outrage I mainly saw was about Vash's hair. Look, I won't lie, I know the hair is part of his iconic look, but I too would trim that down if that was an option. You mean to tell me that there are no barbers in space that Vash should go and see one time? Jokes aside, the new look is a bit more fresh to perhaps address the amount of time that has passed from the original in order to give a fresh take on the character, and for all we know, he still may come into the iconic look at some point during the story. I've also seen people not too keen on Roberto being switched out with Millie Thompson, who from my understanding was the original partner of Meryl in the first anime. Again, while I have not seen the original, I cannot speak on the difference in dynamics from Millie to Roberto, but I can speak on the fact that I am a fan of justifying this type of change. It's not even halfway through the core yet, and I am very much enjoying Roberto's presence as both a form of relief given his attitude on the job, and also as someone who could potentially lead to some very compelling moments between himself and Vash. While it is also unclear on the long-term plan for this project, if that is where it may even be headed, this iteration of these characters may take time to grow on people, and that's something I think only patience and consistency will bring. As far as the story goes, it seems like the continuation of Vash's personality of being lighthearted and intense when needed is still following up quite nicely given the episodic events. Episode 1 and 2 presented us with the situation looming over Vash's head being the constant looming danger from his presence due to his brother's actions. With not only a bounty on his head which attracts various amounts of danger, but also the story's introduction of the plants which hold together the life of the people on these planets, everything is always connected with these siblings. To make things more of a struggle, even with the skills to handle a lot of his foes with ease, Vash refuses to kill. A struggle that he has to constantly put into practice every time he fights, and he is tested constantly. A lot of the time, we see Vash dodging and weaving through the gunfights, which has led to some pretty incredible sequences, such as the town shootout containing great camera movement and fluency throughout all movements Vash makes. The CGI in the show is definitely up there with Lena the Lustrous for how it's able to maintain not only a consistency with the character expressions, but also movement with almost every single fight so far. Again, I understand not liking CGI as a presentation style altogether, but this anime is proving that as 2D animation evolves, so does other types such as CGI. I know Studio Orange is passionate about what they put out, and what they have been putting out with Stampede has definitely represented the standard that they hold themselves to. Of course, with all these things that I am introduced to, I am always looking forward to that one episode that really sells me for the long term. Whether it be a Demon Slayer episode 19 or even an Akudama Drive episode 1, I was waiting to see what ambition lies ahead. Episode 3 made some noise on Twitter, and upon watching it, I found myself feeling the exact excitement that I was waiting for. The best thing about the 3-episode rule is that the 3rd episode tends to be the one. One of the most important aspects for a character introduction is of course the first impression. Over the years, there have not been many antagonists protagonists that have caught my eye, with Askeladd and Tomura Shigaraki being the exceptions from Vinland Saga and My Hero Academia. Millions Knives managed to spearhead episode 3 into one of the best episodes in this entire anime season. His appearance in the town leaving anyone he came across dismembered or eliminated, and his theme by Tatsuya Kato managed to elevate his path of destruction into something so epic I found myself not being able to say a word. You knew he was trouble given all the things he's been putting Vash through, but his introduction completely took that understanding to a new level. His pursuit of a godlike revelation on humanity covered in all white makes it seem as if he was an incarnation of an angel of death. Given the result of the town, I'd say that's a pretty fair assumption, but what this really showed is that Vash's biggest internal struggle is going to be his biggest obstacle when it comes to his brother. His refusal to kill as he seeks to help others and value life itself, while the sins of his brother being constantly stacked upon him, is going to end up creating an extremely complicated and compelling narrative. One common trope in anime is underestimating the calm man's rage, as the minute they are pushed to their limit, they end up becoming something you don't even recognize. I feel that as the story progresses and more trials are pushed onto Vash, it will end up releasing him from his shackles, allowing him to take responsibility as the brother of Knives and bring the story to an end. As stated before, I've only seen clips of the original, but I do know that the brothers fight in the climax of the series, and I have a feeling that Stampede will manage to produce a new and epic take on the fight that will arguably be one of the greatest fights to come out this year. I am quite curious to see how the result of the final fight will go, and whether or not Vash will defeat his brother through crippling him, which from my understanding is what a good amount of people believe Vash did in order to stop Knives in the original, or will Studio Orange go the deadly blow route in this new take. I know Stampede is not going to be everyone's cup of tea for a variety of reasons, but if you can find it within yourself to give this show just one chance, I think you will end up not regretting it. It is evident that Studio Orange wants to do Trigun justice, even with a lot of new elements within the story, and for what it's worth, passionate people with this mindset deserve your attention. While I could end up easily being wrong, my persistent optimism gives me the feeling that this show is going to be great for the long term, and it's also something you need to be watching this season. I want to be able to conclude this show with the feeling that I enjoyed Trigun, and if the narrative can stick the landing and maintain this course of consistency, then I think the only thing I will hate is saying goodbye to it. Stampede is another project that is showing yet again how far animation has come, and it will be a disservice to yourself if you didn't give this a chance to leave you speechless. And if nothing I've said today has convinced you to watch Trigun Stampede, then give it a chance for Wolfwood. That's pretty much it for me though. As always, thank you for watching, and make sure to let me know all your thoughts about Trigun and Trigun Stampede in the comments section down below. Stay safe out there, and I will catch you guys in the next video.